All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear us and see us. Welcome to our Saturday live stream. Today we are having Nikolai joined us here, and we will be basically having a practice on creating a personal budget using YNAB application. The application is called You Need a Budget. This is basically an app I suggest everyone who is into personal budgeting because this is like a glorified spreadsheet where you can track literally everything related to a personal finance. And today I will show how you can create the basic budget to start with. And I will share some practices which I've came across. I've been using this app for 5 or 6 years already, I think. And it was actually a game changer for me. I've got into the habits of tracking everything, and literally right now I cannot live without this app being installed everywhere. And it actually helped me to save a lot of money. I used different apps before that, so I've been tracking my finance for more than 10 years already. And I use different apps which provides like some simplified budgeting, like you split your salary, for example, in 4 buckets and you spend it a week and all of this. But when I came across this YNAB application and I read their methodology, I figured out that this was something I couldn't create myself, and I was missing the detailed budgeting application like that. And this is why I'm a big fan. And now I basically suggest everyone to use it. It's paid, it's subscription based, but it's cost around €6 a month, I believe, something like that, up to 10, depending on how much you use it, because they do give you some discounts. And then I would say it's worth every bucks you pay for it, because you will actually save much more money if you get into the habit of tracking. So there are some downsides which I want to talk right away. The first one is that you need to get a habit of tracking everything you spend. They do have a mobile application which is very helpful. Basically, you launch it and you can immediately enter the amount of money you have spent. This is the first thing. And the second thing, you need some time to ramp up. I would say it's around 3 months till you will be quite comfortable with using the application. Like the first 3 to 6 months are the hardest, and you will have some stress because you will forget to note some transactions and you will forget to do the due diligence, like comparing your application state and your bank account state. Those things require some practice, but I would say in a 6 months of usage, that would be rather straightforward. So let me share my screen. And here's the window. Okay. Can you see it?
I can see, yeah.
Very good. Okay, this is basically a web app which you just get the access to when you register. And as you can see, I have two budgets. One of them is my home budget. This is what I use day to day. And as you can see, it was last updated 2 minutes ago. I logged my lunch spendings actually. And you can see MTDV budget as well. This is basically the budget for meta development company, right? And I have updated it last 2 months ago. So you can see my cadence of due diligence of comparing the actual bank account statement and the budget is around 2 to 3 months. I don't do it like every month, but I usually do it every other month, so that the overhead is not as big. So let's just create the test budget and fill it in. So you can set up different currencies, and one of the things, you cannot have a mixed currency account. This is limiting for some people, but I usually track all my spendings in euro anyway, and I convert them on the fly. So it's quite useful to even have a single account with single currency. And then when you create the account for the first time, you have some pre-populated categories. And those categories may feel quite overwhelming at the start. And I totally get it. When I first saw it, there were like 20 categories. And I was like looking into the spreadsheet and saying like, what is this? Do I need to fill it in like all of those things. And this is actually the trick. So YNAB has 4 different steps for budgeting, which you need to get used to. But the main idea, like the basic idea, which you need to just get, is that you have to split the income you have, the salary you get, completely for a month. So every dollar you have, every euro you have should have a job. They call it give your money a job, right? So basically those categories should be filled with whatever money you get. And you need to do it every month. You don't need to enter all those digits. You do it once, right? And then there will be a special button called budget as last month. I will show you it soon. You just click the button and basically it will populate the same budgets you used the last month. So after 3 months, I would say, when you have already settled with most of your budgets, right, with budget categories, you will just have a single button which will just duplicate the same amount every month, and that's it. So why do we want to care about this complexity, right? Why is it useful? The thing is, the power side of YNAB, it gives you a full control of your money, and you don't need to think whether you have money for something or not. Like it will account for all the payments, all the subscriptions, all the saving goals, investments, everything you need. Like you can create a system which will account for literally everything you spend and give you the peace of mind, basically. Like you don't need to think, where do I get the money for some immediate transactions which have to happen. Because as soon as you uncover all your spendings, right, and you allocate money across all your spendings, you can be sure that you will always have money to pay something. Well, take down that you actually do get the salary which covers all your spendings. If you don't, this is the first step anyway. Like you need to account what you spend money on. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Nikolai, if you have any questions, just stop me and ask the question right away. So I would say let's first enter some kind of salary, and let's assume that you get your salary on September 1st or something like that, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we just put some kind of number here. So the default view which you opened, it's called budget. This is your budget overview, but there is also the all accounts tab. This is the tab where you can actually create transactions, right? And we start with adding some account. There are the possibility to add linked account, but it's only working for US and Canada. And YNAB actually do not recommend to link your account for automatic payments. They suggest you go with unlinked account, which means that you will need to do due diligence every now and then just to compare the state of your application and your bank account. What it gives you the awareness of what happens with your bank account. Because if you see some weird transactions, you will immediately spot them, right? And you can notify your bank. I've done this once, I believe. I've spotted one transaction which I was not sure about, and my bank has actually reverted it because I believe they just booked some incorrect transaction. So that's not very helpful in general to have those transactions like that. But checking your account against your bank account, the real numbers, will help you uncover some hidden categories which you haven't accounted for. But this will happen anyway, naturally. As soon as you start inputting the money you spend, you will soon figure out that you have some unforeseen categories which you need to add. Okay, so we do create the checking account first, right? This is basically your debit account where your money coming. I'll call it just the debit account for short. And we start with 0. Let's assume that we just settle up, right? You have no money. This is your first salary. Yeah, so now,
can I stop you for a sec?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so we started with 0, but what if I have, in reality, everyone who's starting will have some amount already there, like, in the savings account.
Yes, let's do it. Let's just say that the today's balance is like 10
Yeah.
grand, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's like that. Yes. So you do start with 10 grand, right? Your budget will immediately show that you have 10 grand to budget.
Yeah.
And
That's.
I would say let's log also the salary, right?
Mhm.
For today's date. How much do you want to log? 3,000?
Yeah, 3,000. Yeah.
Sounds good, right? Yeah. So there is a magic button called the clearing button, right? It's just a checkbox basically for cleared and uncleared transactions. This is useful for you to know what transactions you need to check against your bank account. So if you just put 3,000 euro, right, and you
Mhm.
go to your bank account and make sure that it's there, you just clear it. And
Mhm.
clearing will help the application to actually calculate how much free money you do have.
Okay.
And then you basically need a category. I usually put the salary or all kind of income into the inflow category, which is called to be
Mhm.
budgeted, right? This
Okay.
is the default, and we save it. Now, if you go to your budget, you will have like 7,000. Sorry, I've locked it as the outflow.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, we have like 13,000, right? And this
Okay.
is where the fun part starts.
Okay. Before we start the
So,
fun part, can I ask
yes,
you,
sure, of
do you
course.
need, yeah, do you need to manually enter your salary every month, or
No,
is it
very
gonna be
good
automatic?
question. It's not going to be automatic, but you need to save it as automatic. So there is an option called repeat, right?
Okay.
And let's do it with this transaction which we entered. You can edit any transaction you have, right?
Yeah.
And basically, if you go to the date, you can make it repeating, and you can say monthly on the 19th of every
Okay.
month, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And all the repeated transaction will be scheduled here on this view, right? So every
Mhm.
month, the YNAB will actually automatically add this transaction, and it will not be cleared, right? So with all the transactions you have, like all the monthly payments, monthly incomes, you will have these scheduled transactions. They are very useful so that you don't forget that you have to pay for something,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
the app tracks it in the future.
Yeah.
Yep,
Can
go
I
on.
also amend those transactions so they are, for example, next month I'm gonna get some bonus or whatever. It's gonna be
Yes,
350 or something. I don't know.
yes. The thing is, you can enter it now, for example, right? Force enter it. If you want to skip, I would say you just delete the transaction if it's not in your bank account, right? So YNAB will actually enter it
Okay.
automatically, and then you can modify it. It's not immutable completely. You can
Mhm.
modify it if you have a different salary, right?
Yeah.
And you can enter your bonus if it's one-time bonus, basically as a manual transaction.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
I mean, it could be as part of a salary, just different support
Yeah,
money. For example, in my case, it could be like
sure.
months differently. Uh,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's
you can
go to the
continue.
fun part,
Yeah.
the meat of this whole presentation. So, the default layout they have in YNAB is quite useful. There are a couple of changes I will make while we will budget this thing, because I think that some categories may be interesting to track more granularly.
Mhm.
For example, the software subscriptions they have here, right? You may want to actually have a separate group for the categories per every application so that you know what things you are spending your money on. So
Okay.
let's start with some basic things. Um, what is the rent mortgage we have to pay every month? How about 800? Does it sound
I,
right?
I share with friends. So for me, it's like
Yeah,
say 300, for example.
300. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go with this. Electric bill?
Uh, Electric bill. Can we? We don't. Again, it's a shared bill, and I
Mm-hmm.
usually think of it
Mm-hmm.
as just one bill. Can we put
Yep.
all electric, water? We don't actually pay water; it's
Yep.
included in rent. So can we
Mm-hmm.
pull just
Yes,
bill,
just, yeah.
utilities or something?
Yep.
Yeah, that I think.
Yeah.
Just
Do we put internet inside of those?
yes, internet is part of those, yeah, as well.
Okay. Right. So the trick here is you pay your water once a year, right? You pay your electricity like every month, and you pay your internet every month as well. So what do? For those yearly subscriptions, you just take the whole sum and divide it by 12, right?
Okay.
So that you get one monthly payment,
Mhm.
and you create a budget for this amount. So let's say you pay for water around how much? $120 per year, right? So it would be $10 for water, right? How
Yeah.
much do you pay for internet? 20, 25?
Yeah, well, yeah, around this.
Yeah. And then what else do we have here? Electricity, it's around
Electricity.
15.
Yeah, it's more. It's like 60.
30, 60.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd say.
let's enter 60. Okay. So it supports some basic math, right? As you can see, we have like $95 every month, which have to be paid to this account, right?
Mhm.
Let's go next. Groceries. How much do you spend every month? 300, 500?
Yeah, let's put 300. I don't know. I don't have a
Yeah,
number. That's going to be tricky.
yeah.
Let's put
hmm
300.
Yeah, and this is actually quite interesting because the groceries usually is the quite variable category, right? If you don't go to the same places every month, then you are gonna have like a variable number here. But you should start with some number. Ideally, the number you are comfortable to spend, right? If you spend like around 300 or 400, it doesn't really matter at the beginning. You just put the number which you think is the comfortable one. So we start with 300. If it will be different next month, or if you overspend, you will be able to rebalance this whole budget in next month, right? And this is how you find the balance point.
Okay.
So if you spend less than this amount, you will have more money available every month. They will basically accumulate on this subcategory. So you can think about these categories as being different sub accounts you have. So if you put money into this account, right, and then it will accumulate over the months if you do not spend all of that. I think we will see it in action when we interact with this. Okay, let's go with transportation.
I don't travel at the moment. I mean, I don't travel. I don't commute. That's what I'm saying. So I don't
Right.
need transportation. So
Yeah.
let's drop it.
Do you commute at all sometimes?
No, not at the moment. Not in these times with coronavirus. We work remotely. So yeah, no.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't go to cinemas or anything like that. You don't go for groceries in
I
different
live in
areas.
I live in city center, so
Right.
it's all in walking distance for me.
Okay.
So it's
But
occasional.
just
So
for
yeah.
just for this test account, I will add something like $10 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And we will assume that you do have some occasional travels, like you have to go to the shopping mall in a different part of the city.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. And you need to have, once again, you don't need to have the ideal number here. You just need to put some money into your transportation, because as soon as you need to go somewhere, right, you will need to get this money from some kind of account. And this is very important to think about all possible spendings you may have during the year, for example. So if you go somewhere, you probably want to have some money accumulated. Then interest and fees. I will actually delete it. It's not very useful by default. But let me see whether we want to add right away something new in these immediate obligations. I usually call these like everyday expenses, right?
Yeah.
And what I would suggest to have here as well, some things like alcohol or tobacco.
Okay.
Something like that. If you do smoke, if you drink alcohol, I would say it's a good idea just to check how much money you spend onto that. I will just put $20 here, and that's it. You can just check how much money will be left and will be spent every month. So when you decide to quit, that would be the category which you can basically rebalance after you succeeded. And I would say that $20 wouldn't be the number. Many people will have a higher bill for this. So having a category like this will actually be a good motivator for you to quit or to lower the consumption of alcohol and tobacco. Because you can see, like, you will see some people with $100 a month spent on that thing. And this is like a decent saving if you rebalance it and you quit. Then I would say if you have some kind of other interests, let me put it this way. Groceries is probably not the only thing you have, right? You can go to cafes and restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
like
think
eating
they do
out
have,
or something. Yeah.
yeah, they have just for fun category, they have dining out. I will actually move it to everyday expenses because you never know what is the day when you go there.
Okay.
And I would say if you're used to go to cafes, this is already part of your lifestyle, so you will have to spend some money on that. And I would say
Yeah.
let's put like $50 here a month.
Yeah.
Sounds about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's just difficult to say. It's before
hmm
Corona and after Corona, but yeah, it could be
Yeah,
more.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the power of this tool is that you can rebalance whatever category you have every month or just during the month. So if you know that you're gonna spend less, you just change the number, right?
Mhm.
And this thing will automatically calculate all of the balances for you, including the future expenses and the future budgets. So
Yeah.
this is why this is very useful. Those numbers are not immutable. You can change them every month. You can change them during the months. If something
Mhm.
happens and you have to spend more money on some categories, you can just rebalance all other categories as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go then to the next things. Auto maintenance. Do you have a car, a bicycle, or anything like that?
No.
Okay,
No, I don't have any
so
vehicles or
let's
anything.
say we have a bike, right?
Yeah.
And just so that you have some money when something goes wrong, I would
Yeah.
say let's put $20 here. And we assume that once a year you have to go to some kind of service and spend maybe up to $200 here, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And then what I will do additionally to this, I will create the bike maintenance goal. And I would say we will have like 250 bucks total here as a goal. So as soon as you hit this goal, you can stop adding the money, right?
Okay.
So this is kind of the limitation for your subcategory, right? You basically say that as soon as I hit 250, I will stop putting money every month because I will have this money available for me anytime, right?
Okay. Do you which
hmm
categories? I mean, can I put goals on every category?
Yeah, you
Is it?
totally can.
I mean, is it beneficial? Is it useful anyway, or just?
Um, I would say this depends on what exactly you want to track. I do have some categories where I just put the goal as the limitation, basically, the same as here. I know that if I have 250 bucks in this account, right, I don't need to put more money into that because I will probably not spend
Okay.
it anyway. So as soon as it hits the ceiling, that's it. You don't put any money into this anyway.
Okay.
The goals are helpful for savings, though. This is where you will have to set some goals. But apart from that, it's an optional tool.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, home maintenance. If you don't have anything at home which can break, you can skip it. But I would say
Yeah.
you can
For
put
anything.
something like $20 here and just create a goal of $500 just in case something breaks and you need to fix it. You just
Can
will
you
have
can
the
you
money.
can you can you stop a bit at different types of goals? Yeah, or which ones I do use usually, or is it just one type of goal?
That's what it means.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. So basically, yes, basically, there are three different types of those goals. The most used one, at least which I use the most, is the target balance. This is the target amount you want to have on this account, right? To be covered completely, like to feel safe. You can set the monthly goal for the budgeted amount, like needed for spending, right?
Mhm.
Is um, kind of where you want to get. Actually, let's try this. Like we say needed for spending 500. and that would be your goal, right? And this will say your goal needs to 480, budget another to stay on track, right? It's a different way to track it. So for
Okay.
this case, it may actually be useful to create this needed for spending goal, right? As soon as this hits the target, it will become green. And these messages will not be shown that you need to spend more money onto that.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is basically like the minimum amount you always want to have on your account, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then this thing is animated. Like the more money you put in, the bigger the progress is, and then you will get the green check mark when everything is good and ready. And this is it. So the third category for the savings is monthly savings builder, right? You don't have you have an unknown target. You don't know how much money you want to have at the end, but you just want to put some money into the category and track the progress. And this is the goal. Like, let's try it. We will have the same set amount, and that's it, right? The thing is, it will help you just calculate the different strategies of how to reach the goal, but you can use any type of the goal. The idea of the goals is that they will have some kind of progress towards the goal achievement, and that's it. It will be just indicated in different ways, and the messages will basically have different labels. I think as soon as we get to the savings, we will have different goals where we can see what happens with different types. Okay, then insurances, renters, home insurance. I will just add $10. I pay around $10 for this kind of insurance. And the thing is, usually the insurance will be yearly, right? For all my yearly payments, I put 1 year here just to know that I will have to pay this once a year. And I usually schedule those transactions for the months when my company actually charges my bank account, so that I do have it the same as the salary here. It will be a planned transaction for all those payments, and I will just know that it will happen once a year. And then as soon as you pay it once a year, you basically divide it by 12 and you put the amount you have to pay every month into this category.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Then medical bill, probably none. We'll skip it for now. We will create something like that further. Clothing, I would put like $30 here, just so that you have money for clothing, right? Even if you don't buy anything this month, you want this to accumulate anyway. And then let's limit it by the goal. We'll say target saving, like $500. You don't want to have more than that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Gifts. Those are things which you need to account probably several times a year, right?
Yeah.
So how much money do we want to put here?
I don't know. It depends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just, I don't know, a month. Let's put 10 a month.
10 a month. Okay.
I think, but my thinking is, because, it's quite tricky, gifts. I would probably have a separate category as like my girlfriend and have a separate gift budget for her.
Yes, that's true.
Does it make sense?
Of course.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, what I do have is I have a different group for kind of money I spent on other people, right?
Okay.
And I do track how much money I send to my parents. I do track how much money I send to my wife. I do track how much loans I can give to my friends and the gifts, basically.
Okay. Do you categorize money you spend, for example, on your wife, or it makes sense, like you buy whatever?
No, not really. But this depends on how exactly you want to control the family budget. So you can actually use the same budget using YNAB, and you can actually track all the spendings together. The app synchronizes between different devices. What we have decided is that I basically give my wife some amount of money, and she can spend it on anything. on her own, which is not common spendings, right?
Yeah.
So if those spendings are like everyday expenses, groceries, utility bills, or other things, right? Like things you need to buy in drugstore, they are shared, but they're like her private money is whatever she wants to spend it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's continue. Okay.
Yeah. So giving is something if you pay for some animal shelter, for example, or some charities, things like that. Just put $10 here as well. Computer replacement. I do have a category which is called device upgrade, devices upgrade.
Okay.
And this is where we can probably be like 200 and set the goal of like 4,000 euro.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. And this is where we may actually set the date. So this is basically a category which helps you to accumulate some money for upgrading your devices or buying some new equipment for work or home or whatever. It's up to you how you want to call it and track it, but you need something like that. And we will say, okay, by January 2024, I want to have 4,000 here, right? And basically, depending on the amount of money you spend every month, there will be a different message. Like right now, it says you are on track to reach your goal, which means if you put $200 here, right, every month, you will definitely reach the goal. If we say we want to put like 50 here, right, the budget will say you that you need 47.57 more this month to reach your goal by this date, right? So this is just some automatic calculations which help you to figure out how much money you need to put into your categories to reach the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, software subscriptions. For this thing, I definitely recommend to create a new group and call it subscriptions and track it separately for all the things.
Okay.
And then for these higher level categories, I suggest you put them in the prioritized order so that you know that those spendings are something you have to pay anyway, right? And subscriptions is something you probably may optimize. And then the debt comes probably second or third after these true expenses. So as soon as you split your money, right, you go top down and you basically have this list prioritized. This is very useful if you have changes in your income and you need to cut down some categories. You can see that some categories down the road may be changed first, right? And those on top, they need to stay the same. So there's a category called stuff I forgot to budget. This is very useful as well. I recommend to leave it for the first several months because there will be spendings which you don't have categories for, and you will just budget it here. And then you think whether you need to create a category for those spendings or not.
Okay, which one of those? So if I, for example, if I come across some spending suddenly, I need to do something, and I like, okay, why not just to create a category for it?
It depends on the circumstances. You may just buy a book occasionally, for example, right? And then you need to think whether you should have a category for books or a category for education in general, or something like that. Or this may be just one-off spending, right? So it depends. If you see that you spend some money on books like every month, then it's good to create the category for that. But if you don't, you just may have some category for random spendings like fun money, whatever. Just that it should be kind of limited. But yeah, it's a good idea to have catch-all category at the beginning, and I would say in 3 to 6 months you just remove it because you should have already all the other categories predefined for yourself.
Okay.
Then let's go to subscriptions next, and just add something like MTV subscription. You pay like $50 a month. Good boy, I approve. Then Dropbox, for example, which is like $10 a month. Then YNAB itself, which will be like 6, I believe. And something like Amazon Prime, you pay it once a year, right? I put it like that. And then Amazon Prime is, I believe, $70. So you put like 650 here, and basically it will accumulate, right? And as soon as you reach the amount, it will basically, like, you will basically pay it, and this will be subtracted.
But for example,
Yeah.
I will pay, my subscription comes probably in 3 months, and
Right.
I start accumulating just this month. So in 3 months I'm
Yeah.
gonna have less than a year subscription.
Yeah. So you can do it in different ways. So one way is you can say, okay, I know that this will come in 3 months. So in 3 months I should have like $70. So I put 25 every
Okay.
month, right?
All right.
You can actually go to the future, right? And say, okay, I know that I pay in December, and then I will have to put my money actually. I'm wondering why I cannot go 2 months in advance. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But you can calculate it like that, and then you will need to switch it back to some number. You can do right away the whole sum this month, right? Just put it in, and you know that you have this budget already to pay. And the next month you basically say, okay, this month I will have just 650. And this is actually the way I recommend to do it. It's just easier. Like you put the money you know you have to spend, or for example, when you create a yearly subscription, you pay it right away, right? So the month you create a payment, you basically put the whole amount here, and then go to the next month and put the monthly amount you will pay.
Oh, yeah. Why not just create a goal, for example, for like given months, I need this sum, and it will tell me that you need to save that amount.
Yeah, you can do that. It's just a bit more clicks than whatever.
Yeah, true.
But
I mean,
you can do it. You can do it whatever way you want. If you don't want to calculate, you just say, yeah, I need this amount, and that's it. It will automatically say how much money you need to spend on this category.
Okay.
You are right. Then what else can we have in our subscriptions? You can have
Netflix.
yeah, good idea. Netflix, which is like $10, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yes. The good thing is you can see the amount which you spent on this whole group, right? Your subscriptions already is at 146. Discounting this, it's like $80 which you pay a month already, right? So this is useful to see how much money you have in different areas of your life.
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime is yearly one, so it's not accurately 140 a month. So it's not that scary.
I mean, the next month you will see, so it's around 80 a month. So yeah. But this gives you like a good overview of what exactly you are spending your money on.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's look into the debts. So those things, I would say they are mostly for US, like student loan for US. You will put like amazing number here, like $2,100, right, which you need to pay.
Yeah. It's not only for US, for UK as well. People here have the loans, like 50K loans, something. Yeah, so it's pretty common. I don't have any, so I don't know if you want to put something as an example, or do we need to, or any debts if people have?
Yeah, so there will be one thing which is different, which is the credit card payments. And YNAB has a special treatment for credit cards. You just create an account for credit cards. And we do actually have the question for that already. But in general, if you have a loan, I will just use like this auto loan, right? You say that you need to basically have the goal by the end of like December 21st, right? By this day, you want to pay like 20,000, and yeah, need it. Yeah, like this, like target saving, and you will see that you need to spend 1,250 on this goal this month to be able to cut this, right? Cut through this. So the loans and credit payments and all of this are tracked in a bit different way. I don't use it. I don't have loans like this. In case of the like home mortgage, right, or car loans, things like this, there will be a monthly payment. And I would just say you put the target amount here, right? And you just input the target payments. There are different ways to kind of do this type of tracking for debt. You can create additional tracking accounts. And this is what I do with my investments in and with the money I give as a loan to my friends so that I track how much they owe me. I will show you this a bit later because this is a
Okay.
bit more complicated topic. But YNAB actually allows you to track the credit cards and allows you to even track the percentages, as far as I know, but it's a bit more complicated. I never overspend on my credit card, so I don't use it as basically a line of credit, right? I don't borrow money from credit card, but I do track my credit card spending so that I know what is the balance right now, and
Okay.
I do have the automatic payment from my debit account to my credit card, and I usually just synchronize those manually. I know that once a month I will pay, at the end of the month, I will pay this money to my credit card. And when I do the due diligence for the comparison, I just log those transactions and that's it. But
Okay.
if you need a guide on how to track the credit card, I would recommend to go to YNAB websites. They have a lot of guides and videos on how to do this, and they will have a guide on how to create a credit card account, which you just create here. There is a type of account called credit card, and for the regular credits, there is line of credit. And then you can use this. When you create those special accounts, they will create separate entries here in your budget. And those entries will be rebalanced automatically depending on how much money you spend, whether you spend money from your debit account or your credit card. This will be accounted automatically. I'm not using it because it gives a bit more complexity, but if you do have a credit card debt, this is something you have to do. And the rule number one of personal budgeting is the first one is that you have to have a budget. You need to track your spendings. The second one is that you need to pay your debts first as soon as possible. Like your goal should be, the default goal should be to pay off all the debts you have. And only after that you go with the savings and then investments. So let's say we have some debt here, right? We probably should set some realistic goal. We have taken the car, which is 20,000 by December 2025. We have to pay 20,000. So every month we have to spend like 320 bucks here. And this is a must, basically. We will see whether we will fit it or not. So the tricky part with having starting budget is that the first months you have to put all your money, right, through the categories, and you don't exactly know whether you have overspent on those categories or not. So you will start rebalancing by the second month, but there is actually a very helpful entry which says this month you have so far budgeted 1,500 bucks, right? So by now we know that we have budgeted like half of our salary already, which is not so bad. Let's go for quality of life goals. Those are already kind of tracking for your for the money you want to save, right? Savings or some short-term goals like vacation is there. I'm not sure why they put fitness and education in those, but I use the categories similar, just have it in a different group. So let's go with vacation. Usually you calculate it like this. If you go for a vacation once or twice a year, right, you do already have some kind of budget. At least you know that you spend like €1,000 every time you go somewhere, right? For this exercise, let's assume that you want to go somewhere twice a year, right? And you spend €1,000 every time you go there. So you would have a goal of needed for spending, right? You say 2,000. So this is what I need. Probably to have on my account.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say we want to have this by our next vacation, which will be in February 2021, right? And you will see how much money you need to put here if you want to reach this goal. This is the way to track it if you want to track it by the date and don't want really to calculate the things. I usually just put the different type of goal, just the target goal, right? I say that I want to have 2000 here and this is my limit, and that's it. And however I want to spend it this month is up to me. If I have more money this month, right? If I haven't put all my money into alcohol, for example, I can spend those money on vacation. So I need to reach the goal of 2000 and then I can just stop putting money into this account. The thing is, this will just accumulate, right? Months over months. And then when you go to vacation, you will know how much money you can spend. And this is your hard limit. You don't spend more than this amount, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then fitness, let's put like 50 bucks here for proteins and the fitness center, whatever. Education, I would say like 20 bucks for some books, courses, and stuff like this. I do have a separate group for this type of goals. I call them self-development. I spend like money on traveling, on courses, on books, on vacations, and I have a category which is called health and wellness, like massage, going to gym, those things. I track them in a bit different way, but this is a good starter, right? This is the good way to start with this thing.
Yeah.
I do have separately a budget which is my health budget actually. So if you go for psychotherapy, for example, you need some drugs and stuff like this, there may be needed a category for this, especially if you spend it like every month, right? So I would say let's just put some category called health here and put like 50 bucks here. And we probably want to limit this by 2000, right? If we have 2000 on our hands, then we probably don't want to go on top of this. Oh, sorry, that's target 7. We don't want the date. Yeah. Right. As soon as you hit those targets, you just stop spending on the category and that's it. Right. And then just for fun, gaming, let's spend like 10 bucks a month. Music, probably 10 bucks a month as well. Fun money. I'm not sure what fun money is. I just have like random spendings. It's kind of a catch-all category as well. Just the question, how do you treat it? I usually put something like 50 to 100 bucks here, and I know that every month I can spend like 100 bucks on some random shit which I like, whatever I encounter, which is not falling into other categories.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I would say we want to have like 500 bucks here as the target goal. We don't want to go more than that, and that's it. Right, so congratulations, this is the first thing you have created so far.
Okay.
But we should have a couple of more categories. I would say one of them should be called savings, and I would suggest you start with this category anyway, even if you don't put money inside, right? There are two subcategories I usually suggest to have. One of them is called emergency fund, right? And this should be at least 6 months of your salary. So for us, we will set a goal of 18,000, right? And this is what we will fill in with the money we have left over. The emergency fund is the first thing you need as the buffer, basically. So if something happens, like Corona crisis once again, you get fired or something like that, you will need the money to keep yourself afloat, right?
Yeah.
And this is basically where people say you can have as much as 3 months of your salary, up to a year of your salary. Some people calculate the actual burn rate, right? So basically, whatever amount we have budgeted through those categories, we will multiply by some amount of months and set a target. I usually say it's good enough to start with just 6 months of your salary, because if you are not living salary to salary, then you will still have a bit more money at the end if something goes wrong. But this is just at least the same goal to start with. You know that if you reach the goal, you have the safety of living like 6 months without the job and without any income, and you can pull it off. And this is the first fund you want to fill in with your bonuses, with whatever money you want, as soon as possible, because this is what will give you some peace of mind just by its existence.
Okay.
Then,
question. We have this fund, and in case of emergency, how do I rebalance it? How do I put it if to be budgeted? How do you?
Yeah.
Is it?
We will see it next month or a couple of months later.
Okay.
I will mark it. Show the example of emergency fund. It's quite easy, but it's not very. I would say it's not very obvious by default how you do this. And I will show you the ways how you rebalance. We will have like the next month's budgeted as well, and we'll create some changes. Coming back to these savings, right? Another thing which I really like, I call fuck you money. This is kind of the budget which is something you may want to have. I will describe it in a couple of seconds after I create it. So what fuck you money means is this is the money which you can throw at any problem you have, right? So that you don't need to think how to solve this problem in the most efficient way. And the initial idea of this fuck you money budget is that this is the budget which you can use to say your boss fuck you and just quit your job any moment. So that you don't worry that you have nothing to spend. And this is quite an interesting category. I've read about it in a couple of books, but it actually really helps. For me, I just treat this category as the additional buffer. So emergency fund is something where I have to leave on my savings completely, right? Fuck you money is just when I don't care about the problem and I can basically solve it with money. Right? Like, for example, the pipes in my home get cracked, right? There is water running around. I don't really want to go through a list of plumbers to figure out who is the most cost effective. I just want this shit to be solved, so I will spend money from this category. It's kind of emergency fund, but I split it in two so that I know that this is kind of the money which I shouldn't touch unless I get some really deep shit, right, happening around. And fuck you money is when I don't really care about the problem. I just want it to be solved, and that's it. Like, can spend money from this category.
Okay.
So I would say those two is something you can have. Emergency fund is something you must have in any case. This is like the basic financial way to handle your expenses. Like, you need this saving. Then you can put some insurances here. You can put some pension plans here if you have something like that.
Where do you put investments, for example, if you have some?
Yeah, that's the next category which I want to talk about, right? And then you call it investments, right?
Well, maybe before we go to investments, maybe where do you put the money? For example, you borrow someone, or
Yep, I'll show you. Let's say we have true expenses, quality of life. I would say it's go under investments, loans I can give, right?
Loans,
And then in just monthly, something like that, monthly investments. Yeah, it's like that. Okay. So let's start with the loans. We basically say we spend $50 every month on this category, right? We limit it, for example, by like 1,000, and that's it. So as soon as you get money here accumulated, right? you will create a tracking account here. There is a type, track it. It's one of them is asset and liability. I will say it's an asset, right? And you say Alex debt. So let's assume you have lent me some money, right? So you have lent me like $500 right away. This is how you can do it by the start, but I don't recommend to put this number right away, right? I'll just say you start with 0, and then you go to your budgets, you check whether you can give this loan, right? And then you just create a new transaction. You say, I have given Alex, right, today this amount of money.
Okay.
And for you, it's an outflow. It comes out of your account. You say, I give him 500, right? I clear it right away because I give it in cash, right? And then we say there is no category, as you can see, because this is a transfer between the accounts. So you can actually say that, yeah, this is what I have given. Okay, yeah, that's probably, we should probably create a different one. Let me see for a moment. It's not an asset, right? Yep. That should probably be, let me just redo it from scratch. Delete this account. It's probably a liability. Let me see. There is just a way to track it so that the account has the positive balance while your main account has a negative balance. We start with 0. Is it this thing? Tracking. So we add a transaction. Okay, 2 from this. Yeah. This is how you do it. You say the pay is someone I've transfer money to, right? To Alex. I use my loan category, and then I give 500 to Alex.
Okay.
So you can see that this tracking account now have 500, right? It's not accounted in your budget, and what is accounted is the spending you have made.
Okay.
Right. So if you don't have money here on this account, you know that you have to put more money in so that there is like 450. Let's assume we just put like 500 here. By default, we know that this month we've given Alex some money, and that's it. Next month we will change it and rebalance, right?
Yeah.
And then the monthly investment, we have around like 500 still left. And this is basically like you put it here just to track that you have monthly investments. What we do with investments, we are doing basically the same thing. Like we use the tracking account and assets. Let's say we buy like Microsoft stocks. Right, we start with 0. And we will have like this tracking account as well. It's once again, it's not accounted in the budget. It's not accounted in your debit account. It's a separate virtual account, right? So when you have this monthly investments, you know that you have money to buy some stocks. You do it with your broker and you input the transaction. Like let's say we bought two stocks, MSFT, right? It costed us like $400, 400 euro, let's assume it like that. Then we say we transfer it to Microsoft stocks, right, from our debit account. And as the transaction is over, we clear it. Now you can see that you have $400 here, right? Your budget says that you have spent, does it say? Well, no, not really. I didn't put the category. Yeah, so it will say the category is needed because I missed it. I say I take this money from monthly investment, right?
Yeah.
Now everything should be correct. Yeah, we have spent 400. We still have 100 left to invest, right? And now you can see that on your tracking, you have this amount of money. Like this is not linked to any ticker or anything like this. What you can do is once every while, like once every 6 months, you go to your broker account, you see what is the amount of money I have here, right?
Yeah.
Let's assume that you just seen that today your two stocks have raised in prices, right? The price has increased, so you want to kind of make a note that you have gained some money. There is a reconciliation function. Reconciliation means I want to lock this account, right? And basically make it kind of immutable. Or you want to say that I've done comparing with the and I want to mark it as being completely cleared. You put reconcile, it says, is your current account balance 400 euro? And we looked at our investments. Now our two stocks cost 420. And we say, no, now I do have 420, right? And you create an adjustment. So the amount will be 220, right?
Yeah.
There will be some hidden transactions because by default, YNAB shows just the transactions which are not cleared and not finalized. If you show all transactions, you will see they are kind of locked, right? This means that you have verified that those transactions are entered, those numbers are correct. And this is basically the transaction which was entered automatically after reconciliation. For your investment account, you can track whether this was like a positive growth or negative growth, right? So let's imagine like in the next month, in October 7, we go to the broker site and we see that now we don't have 420, right? We do have 380. It has dropped. You say it's 380. You don't need to enter the transaction. I was just kind of playing with it. Let me just delete this empty thing. So you create an adjustment, right? And now you can see that there was an outflow. I will just pretend that we have entered it on the 7th of October, right? In the future. So you will see that, okay, you cannot pretend it's in the future. It makes it the future transaction. Let me see. Let's enter it right now. So yeah, you will see that there was like an outflow. Your stocks has dropped, right? You know that there was something like this. So you don't need specifically to do this. It may be just helpful to do it once a year. You go to your portfolio, you check the number, you just enter the new number so that this number shows like something relevant. But in general, this will allow you to see how your portfolio kind of performed during the year, things like that. It's not very helpful. The most important part here is that you have an account which says how much money you have saved in your investments, right? The same goes with capitalized assets. The same goes with capitalized insurances, like pension funds and stuff like this.
Okay, yeah. So separate accounts for pension.
Yes, those are tracking accounts. Yeah, let's just create just so that we show it. We call it like private pension fund. We start with 0, and as soon as we don't want to buy more stocks, we will create a transaction, right? Which will be no, not here. We'll go to all accounts. We'll create, from debit account to private pension. We'll take this money from monthly investments, and we put our 100, which is left, to our pension fund, and that's it. Right. So now our budget is completely spent for this month, and we have some money accumulated here, right? Okay, those are the basics of how exactly you do the first initial monthly planning. Now we have spent almost all of our 3,000. Let's go for October, right? And now in the next months, what you can do is you can say that you want this whole budget to be filled from these quick budgets. The one I use the most is budgeted last month. It will just copy all the numbers which are not yet inputted. As you remember, we have this 650, right, which we entered manually. When we use this budgeted last month, it will update the categories, but will leave those which we entered manually intact. So in September, it was 70 bucks. When we copied this amount, it's kind of merging it, right? if the number is present here, if you entered it manually, then it will just preserve it. So it basically rebalanced, basically it's copied all of the things here, right? And then those, the third column is how much money available in all of those subcategories you have is calculated on a monthly basis, taking into account all money you have put inside of those categories and all your active spendings which you have inputted inside, right? Let's see, let's just spend some money on groceries. We go to shopping, we say groceries, we put like, let's say $100 on groceries, and that's it, right? So if you go to the budget, so as you can see, for September, like the transaction is logged as today's transaction, we have 100 spent, right? For October, we have nothing spent because like October is not yet there, right? We haven't logged any transactions for October and all of this. And you can see that the money is actually accumulated on this account.
Yeah.
Right. You can see some stats of how much money you spent for groceries last month, for example, all of this. And what is useful here is you can click on the spendings, on the total spendings, right? And it will show all the transactions related to this spending. So this is kind of useful if you want to know what exactly you spend your money on during the months in this payment category. So let's go to October and do some rebalancing. So we may know that we have spent less money on groceries, right? It's here than we assumed. So we just say we have 250 and your amount to be budgeted will change, right? We know that we need more random spendings. So we put like 150 here. There is a different way of entering this. Let's say device upgrade. We've decided we don't need as much money. We want to spend more money on our vacation. So you can move some money which you have accumulated to a different category. So let's say we want vacation, right? And we want to move like $100 from this account to our actual. You just enter it, and the numbers will update automatically. So your vacation now will have like $300 budgeted, right? And your device upgrade will have 100. So if you go to the next month, right, you will be able to once again budget the monthly spending for this whole month. The only thing I don't actually know is how do you cancel the selection of the category, because you can go by category, right, and spend and budget the amount spent last month just for this category. But usually I just go, yeah, I click away to budget again, and then, yeah, sorry, go on.
I was asking if you can just click on this blue tick on the left, the checkbox. Or it doesn't work.
Here?
No, yeah,
no,
unselect. Really. Oh, no, okay.
Yeah, probably, yes. So when you don't select anything, this is basically a whole month's budget, right? And for November, we can once again budget things we updated last month and yeah, and rebalance something again. Like we say, okay, we actually don't need as much money for vacation because it's Corona. So 800 doesn't make sense. We will move 300 to the devices again. Right. And now you can see your device upgrade has $700 there in total, right? And this is basically how you roll from month to month. As you can see, the goals get populated, right? The progress is there. So you can track what happens and rebalance all the things. And you will have this amount here every month, which you need to spend. The thing is, what we haven't done in September, we haven't put all our money to work, right? Yeah. The goal is to have this reaching 0 every month. So I would say we will just put the 4184 here into investments. We will just invest all of the money we started with, right?
Yeah.
And then for the next month, we basically spent all of the money we get. For this month, we spent again, all of the money we get. And basically, that's how you roll. The thing is, you will have the salary enter in your account 1 month, and some bonuses and maybe some side income, whatever. This number will account this money correctly for every month. So you don't need to calculate how much money exactly do you need to spend every month, even if your income is not like monthly, or you have some additional income and some additional or irregular income if you're a freelancer, for example. This thing will say how much money you have, or you have not yet split into your categories every month.
So what do I do with some categories? Something happens at Hawk, and I need to buy. I need to go to, for example, to see my parents, buy tickets, and in 2 months, or maybe just in a month, do I just create a category, temporary one that will be removed the other month,
no,
the next month? Or
no, this is where you should create a category like this, transportation, right? And put some money into that, so that the next time this happens, it's not a surprise for you. Right?
Okay.
Doesn't make sense. So you know that you need to go to your parents.
But it's more than for example, transportation, because it's like it's gonna be, for example, it's train tickets, or not train. For example, it's plane tickets, which gonna cost like So do I need to account for all my traveling basically in one category? Should I have maybe something like visiting parents?
Up to you. You. I would say yes, if you know that you need to visit your parents, you create a category like that, right? Visiting parents. You create a goal, like you probably need like 2,000 or whatever, and you can say by what date you need this money, right? Let's say you want to travel on January 2021. You know that you will go to parents. By this date, you need to have 2,000. It will say you need to have 400 budgeted in, so that you can do this.
Okay, question. Follow up, maybe a little bit for following up on this one. But if you go somewhere, obviously your habits change a lot. Like, you start eating out maybe more, or you spend something on, meeting friends, you start spending money on some categories that you usually don't spend. So do I need to budget for them in advance, or should I just have
Ideally, yes. So this is where you have this random spendings, right? We have entered this random spendings. This is where if something changes, if you want to go out with your friends, which you haven't seen for some time, and you don't have money for that account budgeted, right? Then you can spend this money, right?
Yeah, but for example, you're on vacation. You're on vacation, and you go and eat out every day. Yeah, basically.
Yes, you spend your vacation money.
It's vacation money, so I just deduct from. I don't go granularly.
You can use both, right? You can deduct here. You can go granular. You can do whatever you want. The thing is, by default, it's easier with vacation, right? Just to know that during vacation you spend this money, but then you will have some money accumulated for groceries. So you will need to rebalance next month.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever is more convenient for you. When I go to vacation, I actually spend my usual budget, right? Because I go to restaurants, I do buy groceries anyway, I do buy some tickets and all of this. I do have categories for those spendings, and I just spend them because this is basically kind of a normal spendings I have. And then I do spend the money for train tickets, plane tickets, taxi, whatever on vacation itself. So whatever is inside of vacation, I do basically take it from vacation budget. It's just the way that you need to take one approach. I used to have this category as the catch-all, right, during the vacations. So I basically go somewhere, I know that I just spend money from this category, but then you have to rebalance. And I find it's quite vague. It's very kind of easy to just spend from your vacation category. You know that your vacation took so much money out of your pocket. But then like you will need to rebalance, and it's just a trade-off. Whatever is more useful or easier for you,
Okay,
do it the
but
way you want.
but I would probably spend more than I spent
Yeah.
during normal days. So
Yes.
I will
So
have to rebalance anyways then. So
if you do it like that, if you spend more than you spend during the normal days, then you can actually go with vacation budget by default,
okay,
right?
yeah.
And do not rebalance those things. What you can do is you can spend this budgets, right? And then move money from your vacation budget to those budgets again. But it's not very convenient because you don't see how much money you can actually spend on your vacation. So the way you can do it is you actually spend everything from vacation category, and you can see how much money you have total to spend during this vacation, right? So that you don't need to calculate how much money you spent on groceries and all of this, and whether you have more money on vacation or not. It's tricky because it gives you a bit different pattern. Because as you can see, like if you see like 1,000 euro on your vacation budget and this is the last day of your vacation, you can actually say, why don't I spend it on something fancy, things like
Yeah.
that. So it depends. It's really up to you how exactly you want to account for that money. The main idea is that um, you should choose one strategy, and you should know what this category means. Whether it's just transportation, right? Let's say like tickets, entertainment, payment, food, right? You can do it like that. You know that this is what my money will go into. If there is something else, if I buy a book during vacation, it will go to a book, right? Or if I buy some games, that will go to games and all of this.
Okay.
Up to you how you spend it. I used to do it with vacation. Now I more rely on those daily spendings anyway, but it depends. The thing is, if you're single, then it doesn't really matter. But if you have a family, then those categories will be a bit different anyway. So if you go on vacation with your family, I would say just use the vacation budget, right? Spend all the money into the vacation budget so that you know how fast it burns, how much money you spend on the whole family during
Yeah.
vacation, because it would be more hassle to rebalance it other way.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
What a good question. If you have, for example, some cash money,
Yeah. Yes.
or
Very good question. Very good question. I do track it separately, but you do create unlinked cash
okay. Yeah.
account. Just casual monies. So if you have some cash, and what I do track different accounts here. Like I have some credit cards, I have several accounts, some bonus programs and stuff like that. But what you usually do is when you go to the ATM and grab some cash, you create a category where you move money to cash to money. Yeah, there it is. So you move from your debit account to your cash. You took out 200 bucks out of ATM. It's cleared because you get the money on your hands, and that's it. So this is where you will have like cash, right, separately,
Yeah.
and debit separately.
And
The thing
then you
is,
track. Sorry, and then if
I
you
do
spend
track it.
cash, you track
Yes,
cash spendings as
I
well.
track it. Yes, I track it into the cash spendings.
Okay.
It's just more convenient for me. We do use cash a lot in Berlin, so I need to know how much cash I have in my pocket, and I do actually. I don't know how much money I have in my wallet. Actually, I track it here, so I do know that I have like 200 bucks when I look into my YNAB. I don't count money in my wallet like that anymore. This is
Okay.
quite hilarious. And yeah, this is how you track it. And there may be some money you keep at home. You can create like cash stashed at home, something like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you care about, for example, if you have some small amount somewhere. I don't know. You just do because you say we need to budget every box, but there's some,
Yep.
small amounts here and there somewhere. Maybe, I don't know.
It depends. I don't have small amounts like that
Okay.
here and there. What I do have is I do not, when I buy something with cash, right, I round it up towards the 50 cent threshold. So if I pay 6.25, I round it up. I log it as 6.50 and I put all the smaller coins into a stash.
Okay.
And you can you can do whatever you want with this money afterwards.
Yeah. No, for me, maybe, yeah, if when you're budgeting, you don't have, but when I start, I know I have it, I have some two other accounts where I have some money there. I have
Yeah.
some money like in different currency somewhere. I have, I have some money. Yeah. And what you suggest is that I put everything in the system.
Well, ideally, yes, but it's up to you. Like you can pretend that if you have like 200 bucks somewhere on Polish account, in
Yeah.
zloty, it's just the money you can spend sometime on whatever you want, and that's it. And
Okay.
just start with the money you have on your main account. It's more important to just start with your like main debit account so that you
Mhm.
know what all the money is doing, right? So that you put all the money you have in your main account to all those categories. And the thing is, if you see here, like you have like 11,700 on the account, right? This is what your bank account statement should say. But
Mhm.
then you basically have all those subcategories, and basically every month, in every instance of time, you always know how much money you can spend in any of the categories. So if someone asks you to go out to a fancy restaurant and you know that the bill will be like $100, you can say, no, I don't have this budget this month. Sorry, let's go there next month. Things like that. It basically, when you get into this system, right, you don't have anymore the problem of not knowing how much money you can spend on something. And this is quite liberating. So you know that, for example, you cannot buy a new headset this month because you have 200 bucks and your headset costs 300 bucks. You
Mhm.
know that you will have this money next month and that's it. So this is really, really helpful. Especially, this is very helpful with those payments which you tend to forget about, like yearly insurance payments, some kind of bank account payments, some hidden costs may pop up, stuff like that. But I cannot imagine my life without this system anymore. And as soon as I started using YNAB, I started having my savings accumulated. I couldn't do this without the app. With other apps, it was not possible for me. I was
Mhm.
spending a lot, and was always
Okay.
wondering where did my money go. But with YNAB, it's literally like for me, it was the second month where I have already figured out how the system works, and on the third month, I was able to have my first savings
Okay.
logged in.
Nice.
So
That's
very
nice.
good, yeah.
Question. Just, I mean,
Hmm.
maybe a trivial one. You have those goals. For example,
Yeah.
if you reach a goal, for example,
Yes.
you want to buy, I don't know, whatever, a bike, yeah, and
Yeah.
you budgeted for a bike, you bought a bike. What do I do next
Hmm.
with this? First of all, what I do is a category. If
Hmm.
how the system handle when you roll on to the next month.
Uh,
Okay.
so it depends. So let's say you have paid out the loan, right, for your auto.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, let's say we have paid like I'm not sure it will probably log it as the future expenses. Let me see whether we will get some result out of that. Paid 1,000. Yeah, it's scheduled. Okay. Bam, bam. Let me see. Will it be? Yeah, you won't see the transaction if it's not entered. Okay, so when you actually pay it out, it will be deducted, right? This sum will be zero. You can then
Mm.
hide the category,
Okay.
and you will have some hidden categories, right? It will say zero, and
Okay.
yeah, that's basically it. Or you can actually delete the category, but then you will need to select the category where all the transactions will go into, right? So that they are
Okay.
recategorized. So if you actually have a goal of like buying a car or a bike or something like that, and you reached it, I would say just hide it. But the thing is, one more thing to note is that if you have bought something like this, like a bike, a car, and there is a chance that you will replace it. So
That I will replace. You mean?
yes, once in a while you will need to replace your car because it break or you
Oh yeah.
want to change it. Like that, you need it to be amortized. So as soon as you bought a car, you probably want to just transform this category into the car amortization and just put money into your next car,
Yeah.
so that you start immediately account for the next payments you will have when you want to change the car and all of this.
Okay. Yeah, but for example, but in case of those just one-off, payments when you bought something, that just you're not gonna do. You don't need to do any maintenance or buying it. Then you
Yeah.
just hide it. You hide it. But then question. Then basically for the next months you have like free money.
Yeah.
You don't need to budget for this category. You just
Yes.
so your strategy is just to put it into savings or
Yeah.
create a new budget if you want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the same actually goes with those goals which you have reached. So as soon as you reached your vacation goal, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any goal completed by this month? Yeah. So we have these loans I can give, right? It's 1,000. As you see, if it's green with the tick, you stop putting money in loans here.
Yeah.
You will put it in different categories.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is what I do. So when I hit those budget limits, right, I rebalance my account and I see whether those budget limits actually make sense. Because sometimes I have like rather high budget limits. For example, I set clothes for 2,000 and I never spend as much. So I lowered it to 1,000 and I basically put the money, like you click it, you say move money, like move 500 out of here to my
Okay.
monthly investments, for example, and that's it. This will be
Okay.
rebalanced.
Got it.
Yeah.
Last question probably for me.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best strategy? Because you can go granular. Is it better to have like one big category, or is it better to have small? Is it just personal preferences and when
Yeah,
when to choose
good
what?
question.
Like with groceries, you can go and you can
Yep.
put in milk, bread and butter and everything
Yeah,
there.
I would say with groceries, you don't do this. It's absolutely useless. Like specifically for groceries, never do this,
Okay.
except if you want to track some specific category. This is where I noted the alcohol and tobacco, right?
Yeah.
Those are things which you may want to track just to see how much money you spend on this. Um, then it's up to you how granular you want to be, but I do track several things related to food. So I do track groceries, I do track food delivery when I order something to be delivered, right?
Yeah.
Both ready meals and groceries which need to be delivered, probably, right? Things
Yeah.
like that. Then I do track lunches separately or snacks. So when I'm out of home, right, I buy something to eat. I
Yeah.
track it as lunches or snacks. I have a category for that. And
Okay.
I track cafes and restaurants separately from everything else. So dining out for me is a separate category. So I have four categories related to food, right? And I use it just to see how much money I spend on groceries myself, on foods which I buy somewhere else, whether I can optimize it, and where they can optimize the cafe and restaurant and all of this. This is just to see whether I can shift my lifestyle or whether my lifestyle has changed significantly and I can rebalance the whole budget categories.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but in general, I would say like groceries, dining out are the two you want to have on a high level. You don't need to track whether you eat steak or burgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
unless you want to track your calories or something, then what I mean, like whatever you're eating, I don't know.
kind of. But like for alcohol and tobacco and probably like some drugs, like medicine, right? You want
Yeah.
to track that to see how much it takes you to spend on this. Then I usually just suggest to have all subscriptions listed granularly, not just as a
Mhm.
single category. And then the expenses which you have like monthly, utilities can be a single category. I do track phone and internet separately. I do track electricity
Oh yeah.
separately just to see whether there are some changes, in this.
Okay.
And that's probably it. For vacation, I just have a whole category. For education, I split between books and courses, but this is just for convenience again, you know,
Mhm.
so that I know how much money I spend on books and how much money I spend on courses separately. That could be a single category. So basically, the rule is like that. If splitting the category into something more granular gives you available information which you can act upon somehow, you know,
Yeah.
then you just split it. You can always merge them together. Just delete the category and recategorize the spendings into a different one.
Mm.
It's basically like merging the two categories.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
thing we get here is kind of the default I would start with.
All right. Okay. Just another. Maybe I just not don't understand it
Yeah.
clearly, but for example,
hmm hmm
you need to buy something at the pharmacy, some drugs, yeah. And
hmm
you when you need to buy, don't buy them every month, but
Yeah.
for example, during some months when you got a cold or something,
Yes.
you buy them, you spend money on it.
Yep.
Do I need to
Yep.
budget for it yeah, do I need to budget for it?
Yes. I would
Or
suggest, yes, I would
do
suggest
I,
you do this.
do I start immediately knowing like, oh yeah, I need to budget for some medical
Yeah.
expenses? And yeah, okay. Or can I
Uh,
do it when it
you'll
happens and then I just create
mhm.
this category? That's what I'm
You
asking.
can do it when it happens. It depends
Okay.
really on how frequent the spending is and how much money you need to spend. Because if you just need to buy like some common drugs, right, you can just use it from random spendings and create a category for this afterwards.
Okay.
Or we have this health category, whichever it is, right? You can call like health, like massage can go here, some practices can go here, drugs can go here, whatever.
Okay.
I don't have a separate category for drugs. I used to track it when I was drinking a lot of supplements and some drugs for like blood pressure and stuff like this,
Hmm.
just to know that there is a separate category which I need to always pay money into, right? And
Hmm.
that's it. But right now, I do have just this health category, which has around 1,500 euro already accumulated,
Hmm.
right? So I know that I'm covered for the expenses,
Okay. Got it.
and
Got it.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. And if I have any unexpected expenses or categories I forgot about, I just add this category and then just take money, for example, from saving. Less goes to savings this month if I have,
Yeah,
is it
something
how it
like
works?
that.
Okay.
Yep. And then you have this stuff I forgot to budget for, right? Or
Okay.
this random spendings. I will just actually delete this. So random spendings is something you will just account some money into, and then you
Okay.
can use this money and this accumulated stuff, just to fill the new categories you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I can start with it. Yeah, it's all good.
hmm
Looks good.
Yeah. Okay, we do have one more question from Martin. He's asking whether the mobile app works offline. Yes, the mobile app works offline. It's native app. It's actually designed a bit different. So the web app is designed to give you a good overview of your categories, right? And the mobile app has a default view where you enter the spendings. So you basically launch the app and you can immediately enter whatever you have spent just now. And mobile app synchronizes after it becomes online. So all the categories, all the transactions are stored there, and basically the web app and the mobile app, they do synchronize together. One more thing, the good habit to form is to enter all the spendings immediately. So if you pay for something, you get the receipt, right? You immediately put whatever you have in the receipt into the app. So if you have just go to groceries, you bought the beers and all of this, you just input it as groceries and that's it. This is a very good habit to have, and it's a bit hard at the beginning. You will forget some expenses. This is totally normal. But in a couple of months, you will have already some habit formed of if you paid the money, you enter the transaction immediately into your app, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if people do not have more questions, I think that's it. And we can end our session on this. Let me check my notes whether I have forgotten something. Yeah, we probably should once again look into the scheduled payments, right? Basically, for all your payments which you have, you can create this scheduled payments. Let's look into this Amazon Prime, right? We have budgeted $70 to Amazon Prime in September. We probably have just subscribed to Amazon Prime. And you can create a pay here. It's not very useful, but yes, this is something to mention as well. So payee is someone you have paid it, right? You have paid to Amazon money. This is your company. This is usually something you have on your bill. There are some interesting automations in this application. I will mention it just in a moment. So let's assume we paid to Amazon the Amazon Prime subscription. Today we paid $70 here and we just save it, right? So in our budget, we will see that we have paid the Amazon Prime. We have zero total balance. The next month we will put 650 so that it accumulates. And we know that we will have this transaction every year. So where is this? Yes, here. So we can make this transaction repeating, and we can say repeat it yearly, and you just save it. And you will see that you have this transaction and you have this scheduled transactions for Amazon the next year. In a year, this transaction will be automatically entered as soon as you post the 9th of September. So you can set up like custom schedule, you can set up monthly, quarterly schedules, whatever you want. And I do recommend to put all your subscription services, all your yearly transactions into the scheduled transactions so that you don't care to enter those. The thing is, once every 2 or 3 months, you will go to your bank statement and go through all the transactions logged in your bank, just checking whether those things you have mentioned, right, which you have entered here are in your bank account statement as well, and whether your bank account has some transactions which you have missed. And that's it. After you do this, you reconcile your account. This number should match whatever you have on your bank statement. If it does, you just say yes, and then basically all those transactions are kind of locked. And yeah, this is how you kind of roll just to mark that you have accounted for those transactions.
Okay.
So usually it takes me around half an hour every 2 months to synchronize my bank statement, all my accounts with YNAB manually. And this gives a very good overview of what exactly happens to your bank account, whether you have some services which charge it you or give you reverse charge and stuff like that. Very useful.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Will you send me the screenshot of this and with the sidebar?
Yes, I will send you the screenshot for this thing. One more thing. I have almost forgot about this. So these, let me see, these pay categories, right? You can see there is Amazon saved. What you can do is when you go grocery shopping, for example, let's just get this scenario going. We go to groceries today, right? And we go to Penny. This is the supermarket next to our home. Then we spend on groceries, and we buy something for 50 bucks, right? A bunch of things. If you do this on your mobile, when you enter this pay and this category, your mobile device will remember the geotag. Gesundheit. So your mobile device will use your location, and it will remember that the last time you were at this place and you logged the transaction, you paid to this penny, and you logged it for groceries. So the next time you go to this grocery store, this will be the default transaction data which it will show you. So
Okay.
if you want to log the transaction in this shop, it will show that you're in this penny and you probably want to spend money on groceries. And it works for other transactions as well, even if you don't log it on your mobile, right? No, it works only on mobile app, but if you don't use this geolocation, when you pick any pay, like you say Amazon, right, it will automatically pre-populate the category for you. So if you have payments, if you know that you pay for your water bill for some company, which is like Waterworks, you know, if you create the company, you can just pick the company name here, and it will automatically substitute the category. So there are some automations around the categories and payees, maybe useful. And then you may use the reports here, right? It's not very useful for me personally, but you can see some trends after you use the app. You can see some total spendings, like net worth, income, and expenses. I use this income and expenses spreadsheet kind of for meta development to see how the money flow, but it's not very useful for personal budgeting. And one more thing, you can search your accounts and all the transactions you enter. There are different filters, right? You can use categories, you can use accounts, you can use the amount, and this is sometimes very useful if you need to, for example, check how much money you have spent last year on something, right? You can just filter it here, and that's it. Yeah, so I think those are the basics. I will make a screenshot of this thing and put it into the chat so that it's available for everyone. So one more thing, the last thing I just note is you can use the same methodology just with a spreadsheet. You don't need to pay for the application. But a mobile app, right, it synchronizes and some things are automated in a very user-friendly way, so it actually makes sense to pay for YNAB. I would highly recommend it, but still, if you want to be more close to data, you can just use the same methodology in your spreadsheets. Just that the methodology itself is very useful. Just splitting all your income across different categories and tracking how much money you have in those categories is very, very useful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Right, I don't see more questions. So I think that's it. Thanks everyone for joining. There will be the recording available. Thank you, Mikolai, for helping me doing this.
Yeah, thank you for showing it and teaching.
Yep, my pleasure. Have a nice weekend and see you next time.
See you. Bye.